Every time we turn on the news, there's another crisis. A war, a crashing economy, pollution, corruption, climate breakdown. And when you look closely at almost all of it, you find the same thing hiding underneath: fossil fuels. I'm Stuart Oates, and I'm a farmer and journalist from Cornwall. For my Nuffield Scholarship, I wanted to know one thing: can we feed the world without them? Fossil fuels are woven through everything we do. The diesel in our tractors, the natural gas locked inside our fertiliser, the oil in our plastics and our sprays. Every one of these has been treated as a fixed part of farming, something we simply can't do without. I didn't want to know whether we could offset our way to net zero. Offsetting will never be enough. I wanted to know if we could get to real zero, stop using fossil fuels, rather than hoping we can pay someone else to clean up after us. So I spent 2 years travelling the world to find out whether it could really be done. I met farmers, scientists, manufacturers and government leaders, and I'll be honest about where I started. As an organic farmer, I was sceptical of large-scale, high-input agriculture. Like a lot of people, my picture of somewhere like Brazil was shaped by headlines about deforestation. I expected my travels to confirm all of that, but they didn't. What I found again and again was that the most advanced moves away from fossil fuels weren't being made for ideological reasons at all. They were being made because they made commercial sense. The alternatives are now cheaper. And there's something bigger than cost here. It's about food security and energy sovereignty. We tend to think food security means producing lots of food. It doesn't. It means producing food come what may, through a war, a price shock, a blockade. And right now, we are completely reliant on imported diesel, imported chemicals, and imported fertiliser. A farm that runs on sunlight and wind and its own biology isn't just cleaner, it's one that can keep feeding people when the imports stop. So what are the solutions? Well, let's start with fertiliser, because it is by far the largest consumer of fossil fuels in agriculture. To make 1 tonne of synthetic nitrogen takes at least 1 tonne of fossil fuels. That's between 1 and 2% of all the energy that humanity consumes around the world, just to make one input. But nature can do it for us. In Brazil, they've spent 60 years breeding soya that fixes all of its own nitrogen, and they say 20% for the next crop. The plants work with bacteria in their roots. The bacteria are powered by the plant is powered by the sun, and then there's no fossil fuel anywhere in that chain. And it saves Brazilian farmers an estimated $15 billion every year. It was the same story for crop protection. Staying in Brazil, the market for one whole class of pesticide has already gone 90% biological. Living organisms replacing chemistry made from oil. And in the Netherlands, I watched a robot killing weeds with lasers, with no chemistry at all. It uses artificial intelligence to spot a weed, and with a precise burst of light, it kills it. On one farm, it had replaced €150,000 of hand weeding every year. And it found weeds so small the human eye can't even see them, killing them before they could even compete with a crop. Herbicides simply designed out of the system. But the question every farmer asks me is about tractors. What on earth replaces diesel? In Austria, I drove a prototype electric tractor that was one of the most controllable I've ever operated. The retail version will have 160 horsepower and a 200 kilowatt-hour battery. In France, there's a version with a 400 kilowatt-hour battery coming out, with a boosted power up to 240 horsepower. In the Netherlands, I stood next to an autonomous electric tractor with 16,000 newton-meters of torque at every single wheel, and it can work right through the day and into the night, because it doesn't need human input. Back in the UK, I toured the New Holland factory, and I understood for the first time why the big manufacturers are moving so slowly. Switching fuel isn't just a new engine. It means rebuilding the whole supply chain, retraining the workforce, redesigning everything. So they hedge a bit of hydrogen, a bit of methane, a bit of electric. But while they hedge, look at what's happening elsewhere. In China, last December, more than half of all new heavy trucks sold were electric. Not vans, heavy trucks. The economics have already crossed over. I went into this expecting to sit on the fence, but I came away certain. The trials phase is over. Electric will win the tractor race. The only thing standing in its way is battery weight and charging capacity, and those problems are being solved within the next few years, not decades. And this is where it stops being about cost and starts being about opportunity. Because if the future of farming runs on electricity, then farms are sitting on the single greatest asset in the whole transition: land. A Cornish farmer, Andrew Brewer, put it to me more clearly than anyone. His single 500 kilowatt wind turbine earns about the same as his herd of 500 dairy cows. That's 1 cow per kilowatt. But the turbine doesn't need feeding, it doesn't get sick, it doesn't need milking, it just stands in a field and turns, and the money comes in. I saw solar panels standing vertically in Germany, so you can still farm the ground between them. I saw farms turning slurry into gas and gas into power for thousands of homes. But here's the danger. Too often, farmers sign that opportunity away to outside developers for a flat rent, and the real value leaves the countryside for good. We did it once already with North Sea oil. Norway put its oil wealth into a fund for its people. We handed ours to shareholders. We cannot afford to make the same mistake twice. This is the biggest commercial opportunity for farmers in a generation, and we have to make sure it stays in farming hands. I came home more convinced than when I left. Not that this will be easy, but that it's already happening. On our own farm, we're putting it into practice. We've switched as many vehicles as possible to electric while we wait for tractors to catch up. But even those are running on hydro-treated vegetable oils. And we're running numerous trials into things such as plastic replacements and home-brew seaweed biostimulants. And we have solar going on almost all of our roofs. The barriers that are left aren't really about technology. They're about policy and funding, and our own attachment to the way things have always been done. But let me be clear, the transition is coming, whether you like it or not. And the only question is whether farmers will lead or be left behind.